This product is rated M for mature.
Welcome to the second episode of the Duke Nukem Forever podcast series. I'm Elizabeth Toby, and today I'm back with a team from Triptych and Gearbox to talk about the very long and storied history of this game. First, let the guys and gals introduce themselves to you, and then we'll begin our roundtable discussion.
My name's Alan Blum. I work at Triptych, doing level design and everything.
Everything's about right.
Everything.
I'm David Regal. I'm president of Triptych.
I'm Kristen Hageland. I'm a managing partner.
Joe Sigler, the community manager for Duke Nukem for Gearbox Software.
How about you, Chris?
Chris Failer, Gearbox Software community manager.
So, during our intro podcast, we talked very briefly about who Duke Nukem is and his history. But today we want to give more history to the companies, the franchise, and Duke Nukem Forever itself. Can you shed some light into, how DNF started as a concept and how it progressed and morphed over the years into what it is today?
Well, as a concept, we started after Duke 3D. Duke 3D did really well, and we did the expansion pack for that, and everybody liked that, so we decided to make a sequel, of course. So in '97, Todd Polk and I started with the Quake engine and concepting stuff out, getting things working, seeing what the tech can do, things like that. And then with George Broussard, we kind of set out the overall plot of the game, figuring out how to be in Vegas, what Duke should do, what type of places you should go to, stuff like that. It just went from there. And then, over the years, just reiterated on that, figuring out all the details, what, specific places Duke would want to go to, things he would do, and stuff like that.
Definitive answer?
Well, Al was there, so
Yeah.
we'll take
Al was
that
there.
as canon.
Yeah, Al was there since day one from the first Duke game, so there's not a whole lot to add to that.
It just goes from there, so.
We would just recite what Al had told us.
So Al's talking for all four of us then, huh?
I would think that's true.
So there were, initial designs and initial desires, and technology and time and goals and personnel changed a lot over the years. Can you say whether, your vision and your desires from back then are very, very different from what they are today? How does that change and morph?
Well, luckily, as consoles came out and computers got faster and there's better and better tech, we're actually able to improve a lot of things. Like, initially in the Quake stuff, we had a Jeep you can drive, but it was more like a person kind of walking through space. And now we have a huge monster truck, and you can destroy things, and it's far more immersive than what it could have been way back then. So yeah, luckily with the tech advancing,
I guess as a benefit to the dev time is you can do so much better things that had the game come out when it was supposed to originally, it wouldn't have been anything like it was now.
Yeah, this would have been Duke 8 or something.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. It's just like you were saying with the truck, because that vehicle you were talking about in the beginning, it had what, 2 polys or something like that. It was
it was a basic Jeep, and it had a flat. You could find a tire and put on it and drive it and stuff like that. But things have progressed.
Yeah, I think the main things that have stayed the same are Duke as a character and the general outline and plot of the game. Game design has advanced so much over the past 10 years that a lot of updates were made, and we tried to keep the same level of intensity and action, but kind of do things the correct way, the modern way.
Gearbox isn't the first studio to work on this. I think that might be new to some of our listeners. Can you talk about all of the studios who are working on this, far beyond, just the one name that you sometimes see if you're just reading a headline? Talk about who's actually making the game and who's made it throughout all the years.
You want to start with the inception? Since it was the studio of Alan Blum, right at the...
According to Wiki.
Computer and Quake.
Have you been editing Wikipedia?
Is that what it says now or something?
It was a while ago. Someone went.
I was referring more back to Duke 1.
Well, yeah,
Duke 1.
That's what I was referring to as well.
Oh,
Wiki is very interesting at times.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go back that far, but yeah, Duke 1. Todd Rapogel and I went to school together. We grew up in Santa Cruz together. And as I was going to school at UCSC, studying computer science, he was, making side scrollers and stuff, and then he started working on a side scroller that eventually became Duke Nukem 1, and we worked together on that. So that's Company 1, I guess, and then Company 2 would be on Duke 2. Him and I are working out of our apartments here in Texas, so I had to move out here, which was interesting. And then Duke 3. We started, actually, Todd and I started on the first floor of the, at the time, Apogee building. And we had our own little office, and our company actually had a name, Core Software.
What did you call
I
it?
think it was Core Software.
No, wasn't it? Well, that was the
Scenario
Steve
software?
Teach stuff, wasn't it?
Well, there was Scenario Software that
Scenario, that's the word I'm
Todd was
thinking of.
doing,
Yeah.
and then we were going to be Core Software for Duke 3D. But then we worked on that for a while, and we eventually moved upstairs, got more people working on it. And then so it became Apogee, and then they started 3D Realms. So
Yeah, it was
then
just
3D
you
Realms.
and Todd and Steve Teets when you were Scenario, wasn't
Steve
it?
Teets and Dirk Jones, and then James Story came on, and him and I worked downstairs through the night, and I always had to take
Yeah,
him
but
to
you
get,
spent most of your
fish and
time
chips.
looking at pictures of who on the wall?
What, on the rider?
Well, you'd sleep on the floor.
James slept on the floor.
Alan, how did that go from... How did that become 3D Realms, or how did the Duke games become associated with 3D Realms?
Well, we were always, I guess technically a contract, working on the game and everything. And then so as it progressed, and we just needed more people. So we moved upstairs. We got more space, and we got more people. 3D Realms got us people and stuff. And there's only 6 of us or something like that.
On the Duke 3D team?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't much.
No, by the time it was finished, it was probably a little more than that. But for the bulk of it, yeah, it wasn't like projects today where you have 6,000 people doing.
Yeah, yeah, it was very bare bones. But when we started, just Todd and I, that's not enough people to make a whole game. So yeah, so it was brought upstairs, and then at the time it was Apogee, and then I don't know.
Yeah, Scott had that thing in 1995 or 94 where he was like the name Apogee. At that point, we had 20 some odd, 30 some odd games at that point, and
Yeah.
he was saying that the name Apogee had become diluted and you didn't know what you were going to get. And the idea behind 3D Realms was to focus your idea where if you're getting a 3D Realms game, you know the kind of game you're getting. And that was the marketing. Duke 3D was the second game under the 3D Realms label, but it certainly was the most popular.
Yeah, what was the first one?
Terminal Velocity.
That's what I thought.
Wow, that takes me back.
Terminal Velocity was the first 3D Realms game in 1995.
That was... Yeah, I remember that very well. Very, very
But yeah, that the name change from Apogee to 3D Realms was a marketing thing that Scott come up with.
Yeah. Yeah, so it separated all the side scrollers and all that
Yeah.
from the 3D.
3D Realms obviously developed Duke Nukem Forever for many years, and this is very much a 3D Realms game in many respects, since they engineered the character and the concept, and it was in development for so long by so many talented people. Triptych Games was formed in 2009, mostly by some people who were once at 3D Realms, and a couple new people. And we resumed development of the project in July of 2009, and so we are still currently working on the project. And our responsibilities now are basically managing single-player content, optimizing content for consoles, and we had a small hand in some multiplayer map creation. We are joined by Piranha Games, who is doing the majority of the console work for the engineering side of things for 360 and PlayStation 3. It's an enormously difficult task, and they're also responsible for multiplayer on the code side and most of the multiplayer maps. And we are all sitting under Gearbox Software, who is now managing things from the top, have a lot of their own people on it, especially on the engineering side. They're doing QA and kind of overseeing the project as a whole. And then we're all working in conjunction with 2K Games, who is doing a lot of the things peripheral to development, including funding, marketing, and publishing, yes,
Retail distribution.
retail distribution, all the great things that a publisher does.
Well, before we get into all the boring details of the day-to-day,